Coming up in the news, low voter turnout for the 2022 local government elections. Also, things are beginning to take shape as it relates to tourism on Grand Bahama. And a man who was featured on a wanted bulletin hauled before the court today. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Rowe-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news this evening, slow. That is the word regarding the turnout for today's local government elections here on Grand Bahama, with more than 100 candidates on the ballot in the 4 districts on the island. There was no shortage of interest among candidates. But among voters, well, that is a different story. We begin our coverage with Pine Ridge in central Grand Bahama with Jay Philippe.
Well, our ZNS News team took to the streets on this very important day and speaking to presiding officers and persons working the stations, the voter numbers today was pretty low.
The process so far has been very slow. So far, we did not even complete one of the booklets as yet.
Voting for Central Grand Bahama constituency polling divisions number 3 through 9B, in addition to polling division number 12 and 14 taking place at St. George's High School and Sister Mary Patricia Junior High. A number of residents turning out early to cast their votes.
We need little odds and ends to be done, not high up, lower down, like how it's supposed to be, you know, because those guys up high there, they ain't know what's going on. But the guys who in the lower election, it's for them.
I thought it was important because I wanted to exercise my rights and also give persons who've begun a work to let them be able to continue the work they've started.
In all fairness, I feel like the local governments stand out in the neighborhood more, and I think it's good to vote who you want to vote for, who you want to represent your neighborhood, and to look out for the environment around your neighborhood.
It was important for me to vote today to support my friend, and she's doing a marvelous job in Central. So I lent in my support to her so she can keep up the good work.
I feel like it's always important to partake in voting because it's one of the only ways I get to contribute and say what should happen and who I want to do it, to do what I want done, or who I think can do it best.
Presiding officers at Sister Mary Patricia Junior Russell High School telling us that creating a safe environment for voters is a priority.
We are doing everything that we're supposed to do. They are sanitizing their hands as soon as they come in. They're wearing their face masks, and we do ask them to drop the mask for identification purposes. And they're voting with the sanitized pencils, and we continuously sanitize those pencils, so everything is in place.
As far as Central Grand Bahama, voters would select 2 of 5 candidates. Those candidates are Marco Carey, Fraser Gibson, Solomon Morley, Derek Sands, and Michelle Sanders. Now, the highly contested Pine Ridge constituency voting process took place at Hugh Campbell Primary, Tabernacle Baptist Academy, and Jack Hayward School. Presiding officers Giselle Pinder and Lisa Clark describing the process from their perspective.
It's been a slow turnout so far, but I guess they will start to trickle in between now and the lunch hour. We only had about, so far, up until about 10:30, we had about 10 voters so far. So we expect to see an increase during the lunch hour.
Everybody who's been coming in has been pretty compliant. They've been coming in with voters card more so than it was with the election. But we expected to pick up hopefully around lunchtime. Seeing that people have that time off, they're going to probably come during their lunchtime and vote.
We found a voter who was excited to exercise her rights. Presiding officer Pamela Lewis gives her take on local government elections this time around.
The persons aren't that interested to me personally in voting for local government. Because personally to me, you have to be doing something for the people in order for them to come out to vote. Okay? And if you're not doing that, then they're just not going to come out. But sanitizing wise and whatnot, if you're just coming and dropping in, everything is in place in order for you to vote.
Over at Jack Hayward Jr., this mother and daughter duo traveled together to vote.
I think for the last 15, 20 years, we've been going in Grand Bahama downhill, and anything we can do to help improve or persons that we could put in place to do that, my part is only to vote and get someone there, and hopefully we can see ourselves go up.
The process was smooth, protocols was followed. I believe it's important to vote. I mean, it's our right, and we should have a say in who does what.
Overall, the voting process went smoothly, but according to most officers working the stations, the turnout of voters this year was rather small compared to previous years. I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, East Grand Bahama and the city of Freeport also experiencing a slow voter turnout. Presiding officer Danica Martin says it was a quiet day at Maurice Moore Primary School.
The local government elections, the turnout has been very, very, very low. It's what, after 3, we would have only seen 36 persons out of the 304 eligible voters in this polling station, so it's very, very low.
And over at Marco City, the largest constituency with the largest number of candidates, reports were no different. While officials were in place, residents only trickled in one by one. Marco City voters will elect 3 members to the Freeport City 9-member council. Martin adds that today's turnout was much lower than what was experienced during the general election in September.
I saw one candidate this morning, and that was it. I guess maybe because of the low voter turnout, they haven't been around as much. You know, normally with the general election, when we were coming in this morning, the roads were clear, you know, it was free to come in. But in comparison to the general election, where you have to fight to actually get in, the two pales in comparison.
And residents in the East Grand Bahama district turning out early to vote for the candidate of their choice. Sabrina Brown covered that area beginning in Pelican Point.
Polling Division number 6 is one of 3 polling divisions in East Grand Bahama where elections were necessary. The poll opened at 8 a.m. sharp, and residents say they were ready to cast their ballots for various reasons.
I'm actually from McLeanstown. I would like to see that the dock area be prepared as a port of entry, and I would like to see the park be upgraded to a park.
The drains, the markers up on the McLeanstown and up in that area, the markers not there, and the boats are always having problem when they coming in the night, and it's so simple, just to put the markers them down. Then I got a problem in front of my house with a drain, because when it rain a lot, the whole place flooded. Like, if you look at it now, it's flooded, so we need somebody to make sure the local government solve some of these problems.
We are certainly glad that we have the opportunity to elect the one that we think is the ones that we think are best for the job.
We need a lot of help. Like after the hurricane and stuff, had a lot. Well, me personally, I had my house damaged, so I need a lot of help in getting my house back together.
Meanwhile, candidates pledging to do their best to serve their communities.
I see some of the roadways are consistently bushy. There are some hazardous situations like speed bumps needed. Motorists still drive really fast through the community. Also, there is a very hazardous situation in McLeanstown where there is no lighting in the creeks. We have had hundreds of near misses in that creek for years now.
And my heart is to see that betterment come for the community through economic stability, through working with the central government, to see that the training come to the people, because the people need a reform of mind so that they can have the confidence that they can build their own communities. This community has a lot of potential. It's an ecosystem area that can open a vast economical move in this area. We have to go beyond just building bus stops and putting in parks. We have to institute whereby we can help these people get into their own businesses. Give the institute whereby these people can believe in themselves that they can do it.
I think I can bring a lot to the table. After 17 years, I feel like I have a lot to offer.
Presiding officers Carol Cooper and Donovan Bowe say the process went smoothly and safety protocols were in place.
The turnout been wonderful. People are really coming out and taking advantage, They are voting. We have a sanitizing booth, and everyone is wearing their masks, and they are abiding.
Things are going exceptionally smooth here at Polling Division 9B, which is Smiths Point, Mathertown, and Langtown. We've had a steady flow of persons since we opened at 8 a.m. this morning. No one has been apprehensive about any of the measures that we have in place, which include sanitizing upon entry and just before they dip their finger into the ink. All of our stations are sanitized, and the pencils are also sanitized, and the voting booths are sanitized after each voter.
At polling division number 6, the High Rock Township, there are 6 candidates, but only 3 persons are needed. In polling division 9B, which includes Mathertown, Smiths Point, and Langtown, only 2 councillors are needed. However, 3 persons nominated. Now, while voters in East Grand Bahama may have different views, they all want one thing: better communities. And this time around, they say they want results. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Sabrina. Well, over in the Sweetings Key District, the pace was a bit more encouraging. There are just under 100 voters in Sweetings Key who will select 5 of the 8 persons on the ballot to the district council. Residents voting at St. Michael's Church, the returning officer is Ricardo Major.
Here, the election, of course, we have 8 candidates that have nominated, and the election is going well. Up to date, we have well over 50% of the residents here have already voted, and they're still coming in. So the elections are going smooth, and here in Sweetings Key.
And in West Grand Bahama District, that stretches from Mactown in the south to West End. Jamila Mizik visited the polls in that area.
It is a quiet morning here in the West Grand Bahama District so far, and here at the Lewis Yard Primary School, voters could be seen trickling in to cast their ballot. Presiding officer Nathalie Cooper says the polls opened promptly at 8 a.m. with no major challenges.
Well, we had 1 or 2 persons who came to our polling division, but they have quite a few here in this yard, and so we just direct them to where they ought to go. But other than that, there's no major problem at this time. But basically is that if you'll notice that some of them are like duplicate numbers, 13A, 13B. And so when persons come, we just direct them to the appropriate one.
Resident Rosalie Robinson sharing why she's casting her vote.
I think it's my duty as a Bahamian to vote for persons who I know will be able to do a good job and advocate for the community. I hope that they would bring community awareness, bring the community closer together. I am advocating for a crime watch in this area, as well as more sporting facilities for the kids in the area and the empowerment of the people.
Marjorie Darville says she was nominated but withdrew officially. However, her name was still on the ballots. She says after 18 years serving in local government, she believes it is important for candidates to know their responsibility.
Local government is a team, and the act is laid out what the responsibility of local government is. We're not the member of parliament, we're not even central government, we're local government. And so we have to make sure that our cemeteries are clean, our roadsides are clean, garbage collection, pedestrian crossing. Those are the basic things that we have to do. Of course, we can bring in Bahama Host to teach the Bahama Host course, BAIC, straw work and what have you. But we need to focus on what local government is all about.
Now here at the 8 Mile Rock High School Gymnasium, it was a similar situation as a few persons showed up to cast their vote. And this voter says she's hoping that those elected will do what's best for the community.
So I pray and trust that they carry out the mandate that they say they would do, and it will help us a lot. Okay? Because the government can't do everything. They need assistance, and local government, I think, is one of the best things they could have implemented to help carry that forward.
Now, we also visited the Martintown Primary School where there were 2 polling stations. Returning officer for the West Grand Bahama District, Jasmine Roll, giving this update.
Well, I visited poll number 5. That's at Holmesburg Primary. They have a steady flow. They have 500 plus voting in that poll. It's slow in Lewis Yard, it's slow here at Martintown, and I'm on the way to visit my next poll up at Little Primary. The least registered is at Lewis Yard Primary in poll 11B, sorry. They have 156 voters, so that's the least. And Holmesburg Primary, poll number 5, has the most, 500 plus.
Now, all in all, it was a peaceful election process here in the West Grand Bahama District. Shamila Missick, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.